Happy Friday. Just want to say it's on like Donkey Kong, and don't forget to use your superpowers and encourage our icons to do the same. Have a great weekend, everybody.
Hey, you too. Where's your joke?
My challenge for the new year is to reflect every day in 2019 so you'll have a clear vision for 2020.
I like it. Love it. Good to see you, Jeff.
Same.
Hey, Chris Hebert, how you doing?
Hey, pretty good, Michael. Good morning.
Good to see you.
Thank you. I'm excited to see what you got to share today. That's why I had to hang around.
Well, feel free to chime in. You're always of great value.
Well, thank you. Congrats for hitting icon, by the way.
Thank you, thank you. It's a good place to be.
All right, guys, we're going to get started. I am Shannon Milligan. I am an icon agent here in Richmond, Virginia, and I'm going to be your moderator today. And I would like to remind everyone that unless you're asking a question, please mute your mic. And in just a moment, I'm going to invite all of our guests to introduce themselves. I'm going to ask our guests to keep their answers and such to about 2 minutes. That will give us enough time for everybody to get through all the questions that I have ready for them today. So guys, I'm going to start with Michael here. Michael, can you, and this will go for all of you answering here, please tell us your name, where you're from, your location, how many years in the business. Go ahead, Michael.
Good morning, everybody. Happy Friday. My name is Michael Hagan. I am excited to be an icon agent, excited to be here to learn from everybody today. I'm from the greater Kansas City area, reside in a suburb called Leawood. Anybody from Kansas City? Raise your hand. I'm 23 years in the business and very excited to say I've been with EXP for about 18 months. And we're loving it. We're having a great time, and happy to answer questions moving forward. Thank you.
All right, we're just going to go in order. So Chad and then Jeff.
Okay, yeah. Hey, my name's Chad Leonberg. I'm from Pittsburgh, PA. Been in the business for about 4.5 years, coming up on 5 here. I'm done with EXP Realty for 2.5, almost 3 years now. So excited to be here and share what we've done to be successful.
Hey,
Jeff?
all right. Hey, my name is Jeff McIntyre. I'm in Owasso, Michigan, right about in the middle of the state. And if we were in person, I'd show you on my hand where I live. I've been in the business for 15 years, and I just on Wednesday celebrated my 1-year anniversary with EXP.
Hey, congratulations. That is awesome. And guys, just a reminder that we're going to have Q&A at the end, but you can put in questions anytime here in the chat. So I'm going to just start out with, I'm bringing the estrogen here today, just so you know, since y'all are men. But you all are here because you're an icon agent. And I would love for you to each tell you, and again, we're going to start with Jeff and work backwards this time. But if you can each tell us what made you successful to get that title? Like, how did you do it? How long did it take you to reach that milestone once you capped? So Jeff, can you tell us what you think you did to get that title, like to get to that success, how you did it and how long it took you to reach that?
Well, you're only giving us 2 minutes, so I'm not sure I can cover all the details, but I mean, it really is a big picture, understanding your business and what you want as an end result. But recently, I think what really helped me cross that threshold is realizing that the more I pour into my people, my referral sources, my past clients, friends, and family, the more I give to them and pour into them, the more I get back. Oftentimes in the form of business, but not always. That threshold or that realization came to me probably about 6 years ago. And honestly, kind of happened quickly once I realized that, first of all, this business isn't about me. It's about helping clients solve their problems. And making that realization really did kind of make a kickstart the business.
So Jeff, real quick, as a follow-up to that, you said that you realized this about 6 years ago. How long had you been in the business when you finally realized that?
It was about 9 years at that point.
Very cool. I know for myself, I have been selling for, several years, and I just came to that realization this past year as well. So I'd love to hear you say that. How about you, Chad? What did it take for you to get here? How long did it take you to become an icon once you capped?
Yeah, so I've hit it the first 2 years, and it looks like I'm going to hit it my third year as well for the icon status. But so it happened pretty quickly for me, but I'd say it was trial and error that really led me to success. I mean, I just went out when I started. I tried little bits of everything. I tried farming, prospecting, sphere of influence, internet leads, and just found my niche. And that's what I tell pretty much all the agents I work with is really find what works best for you. What works for me may not work for Shannon or whoever, So through the trial and error, I found that, internet leads are definitely my specialty. Excuse me. So, basically through prioritizing, what was a money-making activity, setting up smart systems to work those priorities, and simplification, focus on what's working and get rid of what's not, is really kind of how I've gotten to this level right now.
And you touched on systems, just real quickly, like what kind of systems do you have in place?
Yeah, so most of my team members, my admin, so I do have a team of about 6 buyer agents and 2 listing agents. They would hate that because I've switched them quite a bit on them. But I'd say for the last 6 months or so, we finally found our niche and what I'm happy with. So we actually are using a lot of EXP stuff now. We're using KV Core. We're using Workplace for the team chat as well. I have them basically in there. We do our team meetings through there. It's been nice because it's totally accessible, and we use the video chat feature, so I can get kind of in front of them personally myself, once a week, and go over what we need to do and what we need to change. And a lot of the automation, both in KV Core and SkySlope, for our transaction management, that's been a big deal too, because we didn't want, with this higher level of production, we didn't want to sacrifice the quality and the and the notifications of what's going out just because we're so busy. So we've set up a ton of automation to help us be better than we possibly could as humans.
No, that's awesome. And guys, if you could please mute your mics when you come in here. So if everybody just takes a second and check. Yes, Caesar, can you mute your mic there? All right, Michael, what about you? Same question. How did you get to the icon status? How long did it take you to get there once you capped?
Okay, great. And I appreciated the answers I just heard. I'm honored to be up here with you guys. I think we share a lot in the same culture of wanting to make sure that we're contributing to our clients and also very much so to our revenue share team, the agents that have been compelled to join the company as a result of our interactions with them. We're very dedicated and committed to them, and that's a big part of, I think, the ICON program, is making sure we're sharing and supporting those who approach us and might find a great fit with our company. But to answer your question, we really have 4 primary ways that we generate business. And I came from Keller Williams, just to kind of give you a little history. I was an investor owner of a Keller Williams franchise for 8 years, and deciding to sell that and do something new. And 23 years in the business, I was sort of yawning, going, what am I going to do, right? And then EXP came into my headlights, and I truly became excited about real estate again. It was that opportunity that I was looking for, and it supported everything that I wanted in a business, both culturally and economically. It was just phenomenal that it just came into our windshield. And we use four primary ways to create business. Social media and KV Core is a big part of it. We use Outbound Engine and HomeSnap to get listings and things out there. We use group networking and farming on social media sites. That's a very unique thing, and we have a trainer that supports us in that. Our COI and past client databases are huge, and we use free trips and travel as rewards. We call each client. We've got client appreciation events this year, hopefully 2 this year. Honestly, we've got a strong affiliate referral network. If anybody's interested in that, it's very unique, and it is very effective. And I'm happy to share more on that, but it would take quite a bit of time. Honestly, we've created a couple $1 million in just open houses this year so far, just this year since the first of the year. And then we, again, rely heavily on the skill sets and sharing of our revenue share team. It took about 6 months to become an icon. We capped in 1 month this year. We'll be eligible to be icon again this month, our second time, and we're very excited about that.
Oh, that's great. Congratulations. And just while we're chatting about that, I'm going a little rogue. I'm supposed to stick with my questions here, but it's a follow-up question. Do you all mind sharing what your production was this last year? Because I think it's important for people to see the different variety, and there's different ways to get here. Jeff, we'll start with you.
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, I closed 56 transactions this year. My average sale price in my market is about $115,000. So we definitely need to do some volume. I just, at the end of 2018, hired a buyer's agent, so we're expecting to push those numbers. But yeah, upper 50s, I believe this year we're looking at targeting 80.
That's great. How about you, Chad?
Yeah, we did about 16 million this year, was 104 units, and it is a team. So I basically have kind of a 50-50 split with all the team members, buyer agents or listing agents. So we have a different structure for those. But yeah, that's been our numbers. We're heading on a good pace this year as well. Seeming to be like a little bit more than that. Our kind of target is to hit hopefully 150 this year, but at least 125 minimum units.
That's great. How about you, Michael?
Let's see. This year we're tracking. Our average transaction, we're blessed, is about 510,000. So we're trying to maintain that in the Kansas City market. It's interesting. We're kind of pricing out of the first-time home buyer in this market. It's hard to find a house here under 250 anymore. So it's an interesting dynamic. The new housing market keeps pushing our prices up, and that's dragging, of course, resale up. So a $510,000 average transaction, we're tracking to do around 30 million this year. And historically, we've always sold somewhere between 60 and in my best years, 100 and some odd transactions. But if I can do the 30 million at a 510, I'm real pleased. We're actively pursuing helping other agents enjoy the same kind of success and join part of our revenue share team.
I love that. And I see some people want to learn more about your referral network, which I would like to as well. So we will have to save that for offline. So guys, make sure you reach out to Michael. And so, all right.
And if I could, we'll try and present that in the cloud. We've got 2 presentations we want to do. That's one. And we're going to submit that as for approval to present that in the cloud.
That sounds great. That would be a great win-win for all of us. Now that you guys have shared a little bit how you got to your success, I love this question that they have us outline. So what limits your success? Like, what is your weakness and what do you do to overcome it? You know, I will tell you, just for me, to give you a minute to think of your answers. For me, I am disorganized. Like, I am a big picture thinker. I am a complete mess, and I'm working on what I can do to streamline that. And I do believe that you fail forward, and in the failures, it hurts while you're going through it. But if you're not growing, you're dying. And so along those lines, and we're going to start with, we'll start with Chad, and then we'll go to Michael and then Jeff. But what limits your success? Like, what's your biggest weakness, and what do you do every day to try to overcome that?
Yeah, that's a tricky one, because there's definitely a lot of limits, I think, in real estate. You know, I definitely say time is one of the biggest ones. I think no matter what level you're at. Hold on. Okay. I think no matter what level you're at, you come across that, you know, whether it's trying to find time to show, you know, if you get a ton of buyers in all at once, trying to find time for showings, or, you know, in my case, just with all the new systems, trying to make sure they get implement it out correctly and having the time to build them out while still kind of keeping things moving with what's existing. So time has been a huge factor. I'm sure it's been heard a lot, but time blocking has been a huge help for me. I actually just do everything through Google Calendar, and then I have Calendly set up for all client and even team member like reviews and things like that. We use Calendly with preset parameters. It can't be within a certain window of another event, like a half hour, an hour. And I actually have all my team members use that for showings because we live in a day and age where clients just want kind of on demand, or consumers just want on demand access with Uber.
I was actually afraid of my dad growing up, so I was very well behaved. But I'm just saying, like.
Hey, Randy, can you mute your mic, please?
There we go. So they all have a Calendly calendar themselves where they send out for the showing requests. So basically when they get a client, they say, hey, if you need to schedule a showing, feel free to call me or text me, but this is a link that always works. You can just plop it right on there and we can go. So I would say time is the number one factor in organizing that. And like I said, kind of previously, prioritizing what actually will make you money and what won't. That's a hard thing to do. Playing office is very easy to do in real estate. So you have to make sure you're doing something that's going towards your production for the year. So that's my limit, is basically time.
And I have a follow-up question to that, because I love that you're using Calendly for that. And I've thought about that. And if you don't mind typing that in there in case somebody needs to know how to spell it. But my question is, if somebody signs up to see a house on Calendly, do you then call them to pre-qual them, or do you guys just show up and show them the house? Like how does that work for you? Because I know for my business, I won't show without pre-qual letters anymore, but I know a lot of people do. So there's a different school of thought on that. How do you work that?
Yep. So kind of multiple ways. So I have an ISA that we have a team calendar, and it's prioritized. So it will go, to the top level priority. And then if those aren't available, then it'll go to the next ones, and it round robins them based on priority. And we base that off of conversion rate and team meeting attendance. But so our philosophy is, we go to the first meeting is almost like a consultation for the showing. We tell them, hey, give us 2 or 3 showings to earn your business. We're not going to pester you for a pre-approval for 1, 2, or 3 showings. After that, we'd like to know that you either, if you like us or you don't, it's fine. If you want to go, use another realtor, but give us a shot to earn your business. And then we'd like to get more serious about it. So we do, all my agents are different, and I tell them to do what works best with their style, but I'd say 1 to 3 showings without that. And then we kind of push the issue. We do make judgment calls on that as well. If we hear any red flags with, credit scores or bankruptcies or something like that, then we will kind of demand it up front. But so with Calendly, though, back to that, the ISAs, they do ask if they have a pre-approval, or if they're working with an agent and things like that. And then they go through the team calendar system, and it sets them up and I set those questions in the calendar event. So my team members will just get that on their schedule with the answers to those questions, so they know what they have. In some cases, we get lucky and they are already pre-approved. But then I also have them have their individual Calendlys where when they have a client, they can just say, hey, this way they can do as much business as possible. They don't have to worry about the back and forth of, are you free Thursday at 4? No, what about Friday at 5? They just have a calendar event that clients can use, or if that doesn't work, they can still call and text them, but it's just there. It's in the bottom of all their emails, so they can use it for their existing clients as well.
I love that. That's great. How about you, Michael? What is a weakness that you have to overcome in your business?
Gosh, where do I start, right? Frankly, to kind of echo some of Chad's and the others' feedback on that, really, we don't do a very good job of time blocking. I was sitting here with my wonderful assistant, Lisa Beach, and she's in the audience, and hey, Whitney Badaw, the best broker out there, how you doing? I see you in the audience. I had to do a shout out, sorry. But anyway, there you go. And hi, Deanna Gordon. Time blocking is our biggest challenge. We really need to focus on our first 2 to 4 hours in the day to do some serious lead gen, intentional lead gen. And we are so caught up right now in how busy we are, we forget about the funnel. And if you don't throw it at the top, it never comes out the bottom, right? So we're working actively to sit down and do that, to make sure that we make the most effective use of our time. And prioritizing right now for us, we're above goal where we should be for the year. We're really pleased with that, but we're looking at May being something else if we don't hop on this pretty quick. So time block and systematizing our efforts are our two biggest challenges.
Yes, and I assume as you grow that the systems have to change and that sort of thing, right?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely, and I'm a big advocate of those things. And of course, I've learned a lot from past companies. There's some good companies we work for. I'm pleased to say nothing as exciting and wonderful as the future of this company. They did teach systems, and we did learn how to do that. You just have to kind of commit and rethink it every year and commit to it every year and stay to it, which sometimes easier said than done, right?
No, I agree. What about you, Jeff? What's your biggest weakness and what are you trying to do to overcome it?
Probably not too different from the previous answers. Really, time management, the discipline in time management, and sticking to the most important activities first in the day is always a challenge because there's a million distractions every day. That phone rings, text messages coming in. It's a discipline, and you have to remind yourself of what the income generating activities are and stick to those religiously. Um, and you can use systems. I also use Calendly to help curb some of that. A very effective tool. Um, my next challenge really is I'm an introvert, and I think a lot of us actually are in this business for some reason. And so one of my bigger challenges is getting myself out in front of people and having real conversations every day as part of the prospecting or the big picture networking. So I do use systems to support that as well. I use BombBomb for video emails so that I can have personal communication without the struggles that the typical introvert has. But the communication personal, it's received well. But technology can really support that. But being an introvert and struggling with time management and discipline is certainly a challenge.
So that's interesting. Just a follow-up question for all of you then. It's funny because I never saw myself as an introvert. I was always an extrovert until I got into the business. And now I've become that extroverted introvert. I put it on, I have to turn it on, and then I'm exhausted when I get home. Do you think you've always been an introvert, or is this something that you think has arisen from, doing this for so long and running a business?
Personally, I've gone back and forth. I think before I got into the business, I had an ebb and flow of that same pattern, but definitely when I got into the business, I knew it was going to be very important for me to get out and meet people and talk to people on a regular basis. And yes, you get exhausted doing so. I think this time around becoming an introvert is definitely because it's what we're doing from probably most of us 6:30 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. at least, and it is tiring, absolutely.
What about
Yeah.
you, Chad and Michael?
Yeah, I think I've always wanted to be an introvert, but I somehow am an extrovert. I look at whenever I do get time, whenever even before real estate, whenever I had time where I wasn't around people, and I would start calling, 4 or 5 people at a time till I get into some conversations because apparently I missed them. So yeah, I think it's something where I want to be just secluded at home and everybody leave me alone, but I end up, just getting out there talking with everybody constantly. So it's like I'm addicted to it in a way. And real estate is definitely, like you said, there's days where you come home and you're just done. Your brain can't take anymore. And I think that's mental health is one of the biggest important things in real estate to have. Actually, it's hard with the transactions beating you up, other agents, negotiations, clients, you name it. So whenever you have those moments where you're not going to get anything done or not be productive, take that time and we're our own bosses, so use it to get your mental health straightened out so you can use that hour the next day in a way more productive manner than whenever you're just exhausted at the end of the day or whenever it is. So use the freedom and flexibility that we have to our advantage, as long as you're not ruining the service to your clients.
I'm so glad you shared that. I will say I'm an open book. Once I got a therapist, my life changed. I wasn't
Really?
bad, but you need somewhere to go when you have all these people and you're taking on their problems, because it's essentially what we're doing. We're trying to manage that. So I'm really glad that you brought that up, the mental health aspect of it. And I do think it's important for people to have an outlet. Michael, what about you? Introvert, extrovert?
Yeah, I'm kind of an extrovert. I love the stage. And sometimes it's hard for me not to share my bad humor even. So I'm going to spare you all that today. But I'll tell you that, though, there's only 3 of us on my team. I've got my daughter, who is a fabulous kind of all-around strategist and a buyer agent right now, but she does some listings. And I've got the world's best director of operations who keeps me straight and narrow, keeps all of our clients well-informed and supported. But each one of us will occasionally try and delegate the phone call. No, you make that call, you make that call. So phone calls is one thing. But I love communicating with people. I love presenting. I'm a listing agent primarily. I love that. I love getting up on stage and training. It's always been something I've enjoyed from my corporate days to real estate, and I have no issue with that. But when you have to pick up a call and make a cold call to someone, even if they're a warm lead for the first time, I think everybody kind of goes, oh, okay, I got to get through this. And so we share that with humor, the 3 of us, and we get it all done.
And out in the audience may be wondering, why would she ask that follow-up question? What does it matter? Because I think it goes to show you have introverts, you have extroverts, you've got the extroverted introvert. It doesn't matter. There's a way to success no matter what your personality. And all 3 of these gentlemen have very different, backgrounds in terms of their personalities, and they've all made it work. And so, connect with who you're going to connect with, but you can definitely, an icon is not just for the extroverted life of the parties, high I's. There's a way to success if you're a high C, a high D, a high S, and all that good stuff. So I'm going to switch gears just a little bit, and we'll talk about leads and lead generation. What is your primary source? And we're going to start with Jeff of lead gen, and how do you work those leads? So what is it that you're doing for lead gen? Is it Facebook ads? Are you doing Zillow? What have you? And then follow-up question to that is, what is your protocol with that? What is your follow-up? Do you contact them 5 times, 10 times? Like, what is your deal when it comes to that?
I love this question. Thank you. Primarily, our lead generation is done via Facebook, but through KV Core. KV Core is an outstanding tool to track leads, obviously generate them, and has a very nice follow-up system. If I could plug my RevShare group, I have Amy Brookhammer. Most of you know Amy B is my sponsor, brought me into the company, and she has some amazing courses on buyer loyalty and follow-up. So what we've actually done is taken most of our follow-up outside of KV Core and used, like I said, BombBomb automations to follow up with those leads. The actual process, or the flow of our lead gen is new lead comes into the system. We use Zapier as our kind of our center, our hub for tie all of our systems in. So a new lead comes in, they get a voicemail from Sly Broadcast, just a quick thank you and introduction, and giving them notice that they are going to be receiving a few emails from us regarding our process and sort of an introduction from us. And so through the BombBomb automations, they'll get 5 emails over the course of 5 days. Most of those emails have a video email introducing ourselves and a bunch of content that is useful, and again, kind of makes it a warm contact at that point. BombBomb is wonderful in that we can track and see when the lead is opening emails, when they're clicking on links, and when they're watching videos. So it's a really in-tune system to track of what that lead is doing. If the lead happens to go past those 5 emails and we haven't heard from them or been able to make a conversion, then we'll turn the team on to follow-up phone calls, trying to make contact and determine the interest level of that lead. Through KV Core, I think going back to the beginning of the lead gen process, if anybody out there is not a serious KV Core user, I encourage you to take a look. There's a ton of materials on training and instruction. It's a very, very useful system. I used Conversion before I joined EXP and was thrilled to find out that that was part of our agent package. It's a phenomenal lead gen program. But ultimately, for me, I want to make much personal contact and communication as possible. So I don't love a lot of the automated impersonal contact that comes out of some lead gen systems. BombBomb really is a great program for that.
Oh, you're talking video, like you're speaking my language. I love that because people get to know you, like you, and trust you immediately. So that's awesome. What about you, Chad? What are you doing for leads? And then what is your follow-up with the leads that you get? Because we all know leads are easy. When people say, oh, I don't have any leads, I don't have any leads, that's not true. You can easily get leads. It's what you do with it after. So what are you doing for lead gen? And then what are you doing?
Yep, gotcha. So I'll kind of break it down to a couple categories here too, like buyers, sellers, and then also for the agent attraction, I wanted to discuss on that a little bit since it's been a hot topic, I think. But so for buyers, our primary source is Zillow and Realtor.com. I mean, I've started to get towards Facebook ads and some other things what KV Core's power basically has. And it's one of the things with the priorities. I got to keep it what's working right now while implementing these other systems to generate them. But Zillow has been probably my major source up until now, but I'm looking to shift away because I know that's controversial. But so our follow-up system, it depends on the lead type that comes in. For the live calls, we route them to our team members to be handled on the spot, kind of on-demand leads. And then for regular ones that come in just on an inquiry, say I'm interested in a certain house, we have an ISA that calls them within 2 minutes. They do 5 calls, texts, and emails a month. The first month, and then they get put on a drip campaign if there's no response. And so I definitely agree with the automation, not being as personable. You can crush a team like myself that's very automated if you go out and get BombBomb, or I have another program I might talk about here in the end as well, and do this video and more personal connection conversations. They'll trump any big team that's using automation. But the one way I try to, since we've had to scale with the automation, is with my drip campaigns, a simple trick such as like misspelling a word. If you say just put JUS or JSUT instead of JUST, they wouldn't think that something automated would be and also keeping them very short. So I think if you are going to do drip campaigns, I think my big theory has been, misspell a word or two, not all the time, but just a couple, make it look authentic and keep it short, just like pretend you are actually texting a person on that day that you're scheduling that, if it's on day 7 or day 21 or whenever it is, put your mind in that scenario and put in what you actually say. And so my drip campaigns, most people get fooled by basically. But again, like I was saying, that as an individual agent, you can trump a lot of bigger teams if you have that video, emails, and the phone calls and the more personal connection. So my theory, I think, with the follow-up though, particularly on buyers, is there's a magic moment, whether it's a year, 2-year process, 6 months, there's that moment where they go, okay, it just clicks and they're ready to buy. So they may have inquired to you 3 months before that, a year after, you never know really when. So the key is just being in front of them constantly, whether it's through an auto search, video, email, drip campaigns, as long as you're still in their wheelhouse, whenever that time comes, they'll use you. That's been my experience, particularly on buyers. So I'll try to be brief on the other ones because I went a lot. So we are primarily buyers. Sellers, we do a lot of expireds and FSBOs. Just there's no easy way around them. They're just cold calls. You got to be persistent. You got to be good. It's a lot more mental health damage. And then I wanted to touch on agent attraction. The biggest thing is it's in the pledge as it is, but organic is really the only way that seems to work. I've had much success lately with just people I've done deals with, people catching, our success, they're seeing it. And there's nothing wrong with placing a phone call to a good, a fellow realtor friend that you have or you've done a deal with and just say, hey, let's catch up and have lunch. You need to check this out, and if it's not for you, that's it. And but to help all 3 of these, to circle back, I've used templates to copy and paste basically things I'm constantly saying, even if it's to explain contingencies to a buyer. I use the Paste app, and I'll write these in here when I'm done. I use the Paste app for iOS and Mac OS to paste common scripts I'm saying. And I actually use Mixmax for email which does do basically what BombBomb does and what Calendly does. And it lets you track your emails and when they're opening it. So I know that was long-winded, but that's my explanation.
No, thank you, Chad. And by the way, happy belated birthday.
Thank you.
Michael, what about you? What are you doing for lead gen? And then what are you doing with those leads once you get them for follow-up?
Yeah, great. I appreciated the answers. And Jeff, I admire what you're doing with video. I'll have to reach out to you because I keep getting beat on the head that I need to do that. I need to do that. And frankly, we're just not. Maybe I've got too much of a radio face to go video, but I sure do want to get more involved in that. Anyway, I would break it down like this, that 70% of our business, and again, I've done this 23 years, comes from past clients, COI, and open house, frankly. And when we do open houses in my market, a lot of times people just know us because we've been around for a while, right? In 23 years, you meet people, they see your name, they know you. And so we've enjoyed a lot of success there. We have 10% of our volume comes from the senior housing market. We've been approved by pursuing one of the major Erickson Living facilities here in the area is one of 4 agents that's approved to do business for them, and they're just expanding rapidly. We've made a point of touring all the facilities in the area, all the majors, and acquainting ourselves with the people that run it, and making sure they understand why our program's a little different than some. And we've made good inroads into that community. And the other 20% comes from KV Core, and cold calling, so to speak. And when we get leads, Mary Beth, my daughter, really handles a lot of those campaigns by initial calls, initially to try and reach them, and then putting them on drip campaigns. We're just starting to really utilize KV Core. It is an outstanding tool. In fact, one of the guys on our revenue share team, his name is Zach Reed, and I'll post his info, put together a very concise, short, and very affordable training program. And that's been a great asset to us in learning how to use it, because like so many of these things, they can be a little cumbersome, a little overwhelming at first, but once you get in it and you use it, it runs smoothly, and we're getting leads every day from KV Core now. So that's fantastic. And I think Lisa Veach is probably going to post that info if anybody's interested. It's there now. But I'll tell you what, it's changing. It's dynamic. You know, if we get stuck in a rut and we're not analyzing it every year, then we're failing in my book. And so our greatest thing that's growing right now is the affiliate referral program. It's a passive system. It's subtly, they sign a contract, but it's not binding, of course, but we provide them social media training on how to post different things that ask people about life events. Like, who do you know in the next 6 months that's going to retire, or who's going to relocate, or are they getting married? And so they use all of their viral market to find out of those friends that they have online who might be going through those experiences. We train them to say things like, well, gosh, that's fantastic. Would you mind if I know one of the best real estate agents in Kansas City. Would you mind if I had Michael reach out to you rather than saying, hey, that's great. Here's Michael, give him a call. So we're training these people how to do social media, and we're training them how to respond and how to secure leads, not only for us, but for the other affiliates in the training. We'll have 40 or 50 of these affiliates pretty soon, and we're asking for them to commit to 1 to 3 transactions from each of them in the course of 12 months. And we get together once a month to support that. We did it yesterday again, and it's just starting out phenomenal. In fact, right before this, we got a lead for a strong listing of about 380,000. So those things are changing. Hopefully I'm answering your question. But historically, we've been about 10% seniors, 70% past client, and 20% everything else, and to include KV Core.
Well, that leads me to my next question. And then Michael, you can answer this, and we'll go Michael, Chad, Jeff. What are you doing then once you have them as clients? How are you staying in front of your past clients, because they will turn into later business? So what are you doing? What's your follow-up with your past clients?
Yeah, great question, and we need to improve on it, no doubt. And I've got a lot of past clients, and we found ourselves scurrying back to identify the top, 400 or 500 that we'd like to stay in touch with. Now, Lisa, who's here with me today, is committed to calling each of them today over the next month to say, hey, we want to reconnect. We would like to invite you to an event. just make that personal contact and make sure we have their current information. Then we also use Outbound Engine and HomeSnap to highlight listings and things that will go to all of them. So they're seeing from us weekly or biweekly something new that's hitting the market with our name on it. And then we are planning to client appreciation events this year.
Okay, thank you. What about you, Chad? What are you doing to stay on the peripheral of your past clients?
Well, this is a weak point alert. I'm really terrible at it right now, to be honest. I keep focusing on new business and not really focusing on maximizing what I have so far. It's currently, as of the last 2-3 months, I've been putting some things together to hopefully to implement here soon. But thankfully, my lender actually has a great program that co-brands me on his. So they're sending out stuff for birthdays, holidays, stuff like that. And I am co-branded on it, mostly mailers. The one I remember the most is actually during the closing process, but they send out a mailer with a popcorn bag and say, sit back and relax, we're handling everything and the appraisal's underway or something. So they send out cool things like that for holidays and birthdays as well. So thankfully that's caught my one of my biggest weak points, but in the future we're hoping to definitely do client appreciation events and more personal contact from us as well. And I'm honestly just trying to develop that system. So we are terrible at it right now.
Hey, Chad, we can talk at some point. That's my jam. So I'd love to
Awesome.
give you some ideas. Jeff, what about you? And I'll share a couple ideas after Jeff. What are you doing to stay in front of your past clients, since that is a form of lead gen?
Absolutely. And I'm like Chad, this is definitely a weakness of mine, but I mentioned it earlier about pouring into my clients. Namely, I think you need to identify your top referral folks, including past clients, and at a minimum, reach out to them or make direct contact with them once a quarter. And in my mind, it's personal contact. It's not a postcard or a recipe card or something like that. A phone call, checking in on them, paying very close attention to their life's big events, and making sure that you acknowledge those with them. I, again, will automate that or use technology to assist me. Send out cards is a phenomenal platform. Talk about feedback. As soon as these people are receiving greeting cards, maybe I dropped a picture of something like father and kids making a snowman that the wife posted on Facebook. You drop a picture of that into a card and send it off to them, and the response is incredible. But that absolutely, that is a weakness of mine, and that's something we're constantly working on and constantly reminding ourselves of. We need to be paying attention to those people that take care of us. I once heard it said that these people feed, clothe, and house us, and be in tune with what's happening in their world, and show them that we care. With the active clients, the clients we're currently working with, sellers and buyers, it's kind of the same story. We're involved with, or in the middle of a transaction or a very important house hunt, and we need to be paying attention again to their major life events, but obviously the things that pertain to either the listing and the sale of their house or the house hunt and the transaction that they're involved in. And that does, in my mind, require to be strong at it, requires high level communication, often and very, very personal, face to face and phone calls, of course. But communication, one of the things when I got into real estate, I knew that if I had a cell phone and answered and returned calls, I'd probably be better than 75% of my competition. And to go a step farther with communication, I mean, just do it. And it's huge. As my first transaction as a home buyer and a home seller before I got into real estate, that was my number one complaint. I never heard from my agent, and I rarely knew what was happening in my transaction. So just keeping them informed, and you can automate that, of course, like Chad mentioned, some template emails that explain the stage of the process we're in, but it means a lot to those clients to stay in contact with them.
Absolutely. And this is something that I love. We work so hard to get the business and we develop relationships. So I love staying in touch. And I created on Workplace our Raving Fans / MVP Club. So if you guys go to that, you'll see some ideas. But some of the things that we've done is we just did a financial event, and I had a money mom, a money coach come in, and I had 20 people there, and a couple of my clients are getting out of debt. And what's really cool about that is, a year or two from now, when they're out of debt, they're going to look back and remember that I invited them to that. So that was really cool to see. We're changing lives in that sense. We do free ice cream events. A Saturday coming up, we're just going to say, hey, if you want to stop by between 2 and 4 at this place, we'll buy a cone on us. We do very informal things like that. And then we do very formal things, like we do the reverse pie giveaway at Thanksgiving, and we rent out the movie theater, and we're going to be showing Aladdin. So there's lots of ways to stay in touch. And so if any of you in the audience are curious about that, we do have that group. So I love that y'all are talking about that. So since we're talking about lead gen, let's just shift just a tiny bit. What do you do for your marketing and advertising plan? So is anybody implementing video or what do you do on social? What is your marketing and advertising plan? Let's start with, we'll go in the middle chat.
Yeah, so I mean, we've recently been working to be more of a presence on social media. That's been non-existent for me probably even 2 months ago. So it's very new. We're going to start doing some of the Facebook Lives, kind of interviews of I want to do different local people, whether it's businesses or electricians, contractors, obviously lenders and home inspectors, just trying to get more education out there. I think that's been one of the biggest pulls I've had in converting any lead is if you educate them and teach them how it actually works, instead of just assuming that they know or just telling them only the minimum of what they need to know, that they'll stick with you because you were that great source of information and showing that you're really a true professional. So we're trying to get a lot more of those out, but currently, and what's been successful for me now is, I mean, it has primarily been Zillow. We do have a healthy ad spend on there and realtor.com. As well as some of the SEO and stuff. I'm not an expert on that, but I've just been getting into it recently, and it's been getting pretty good. I do think the cost per lead is definitely down from Zillow. They basically charge a premium because they've done it, and a lot of us haven't. So yeah, I guess that's a basic idea of my marketing.
Okay, what about you, Michael?
Thought it worked better if I turned the mic on, right? Well, listen, we're changing in that regard in some ways as well. We're going to a lot of social media. All of our past clients that are in our list see our new listings as they hit. So we're trying to keep top of mind that way. And we do it through social media and email campaigns. We're starting to do a little bit more with groups on social media. If you just post Facebook or Twitter or something, Facebook only loves you as much as you love them, right? You're not going to get the distribution you think by posting things on Facebook unless you're constantly posting every day, because they're going to cut you back. It doesn't hit nearly as many people as you think. So what we're formulating now are groups within our areas of trade that are specific to, for instance, a neighborhood or 2 or 3 neighborhoods at a time. And we're leading those groups with information and affiliates that are pertinent to their needs. And we're growing our market share in that way. And that's going to be a big part of our staying in front of both our past clients and those that know us but maybe haven't done business with us yet. We are also recognizing our past clients' anniversaries, birthdays, etc., with what we use is some free travel certificates. And it's not expensive, it's real, it's not timeshare. It's been a wonderful program that's one of the people that works for me, with me, our trainer owns the company, and it's been phenomenal. People are like, really? And we get cards or emails from people who have taken the trips, and they absolutely love them. So, that's like, they'll tell 3 or 4 people how great it is. And that's been effective for us. But, are we doing it 100% correct? I'd say no. It's a dynamic, changing thing, right, due to social media. And luckily, I've got some people smarter than me helping me run that.
Thank you. What about you, Jeff? What about your marketing advertising plan?
You know, I do a fair amount with Facebook and, you know, the paid advertising, primarily for the lead generation. We will do a lot more organic video-based messages. My buyer specialist and I do a live monthly Q&A on Facebook and take questions about the real estate process, or try to keep it to real estate anyway, right? But I believe, as far as spending money in my marketing plan, I believe in spending my money where I spend my time and the things that I believe in, and on the people that believe in the same things I do. You know, with children, school-age children, I've coached a ton of youth sports and varsity sports, so I will sponsor nearly every team that asks, or every sporting or school event that I can get my hands on. Not only spend the time or spend the money and sponsor it, but spend the time there with those people. Again, you know, we believe in the family environment and children. My wife's a middle school teacher, so that is really where we spend the bulk of our time and our money. And it has without question been the place, or the one thing that has given me the most return from a business standpoint and from a relationship standpoint, for sure. You know, I could get technical and talk about how much money you should spend every month on Facebook generating leads, or, you know, awareness campaigns, just so that your brand is out there getting exposure. But I think it really does come down to, for me, where I spend my time in my personal life, making sure that those folks know I support what they do.
Well, thank you guys. And just a side note, by the way, send out cards, banner season, they're all awesome. I legally stalk people on Facebook, and I just found out that 2 of my clients, because we're Facebook friends, they're both pregnant at the same time. So I pulled out my send out cards, and I pulled out banner season. I actually use both. And I sent them cards and with a little gift. And it was so simple. It took me 5 minutes to do both. And, you know, that will have a big impact. So just switching gears a little bit, you guys were talking about where you're spending your money a little bit on marketing and all that. Where are you investing in yourself in terms of education? Do you have a coach? Are you going to conferences? And if you're going to conferences, which ones? So let's start with Jeff. Let's start with you again. What are you doing in terms of investing in yourself?
I try my hardest to listen to the folks that are in this business, or that we surround ourselves with. I have an amazing RevShare group, so I'm always leaning on them for books. In fact, I just did a book club with Sylvia Dana this morning on 7 levels of communication. But really, I mean, that type of personal growth and self-development, whether it's the books or the courses. I'm a 36 to lifer with Hank Avink. So, you know, so much personal growth and business mindset available there. But I think it's super, super important to not stop growing and educating yourself, whether it's, like I said, personal development or business skills, or knowledge. And and through EXP, I mean, collaboration being one of the huge core values. Everywhere you turn, Facebook Workplace or your Facebook groups, there are so many people that are successful at every level offering information. So networking also is another place that I find has been so fruitful for me. But the idea for me, you know, complacency kills, and if we're not trying to progress ourselves and learn more, we're going to stay where we are.
Thank you. How about you, Michael? What are you doing to invest in yourself? Any conferences? Do you have any coaches?
Yeah, thanks for the question. We have really a 4th team member. He's my full-time coach, and he's amazing. He's trained 30,000 real estate people across the country. He's been very, very successful in a lot of different industries, but social media is really his forte. You know, 23 years in the business. He sat down across from me, and how many of you out there purchase silver bullets in your life, right? This is going to fix it. This is going to win. I'm going to put $1,000 towards Floyd Wickman or whatever it was. and come away going, oh, that was a training event, not a learning experience. Well, Timothy is a whole new ball game. He's incredible. And the reason I'm investing in him is not just for me, it's because I think he adds great value to our revenue share team. And so twice a month, he trains them on different things that will grow their business, especially social media. He's a genius. So that's my biggest investment in training. We go to all the functions. I think there's high value in going to every EXP thing you can. We'll be there in June in Florida. We'd love that. I'm going to a leadership conference in March with like top 400 of the top agents in the country. And so I believe in all that. I think the real thing I've learned in my life, and especially in real estate, is go to things that pump you up, like Zig Ziglar, right? I love Zig Ziglar. I'm probably aging myself here. You'd come away, you'd feel pumped up and charged, but a week later you were doing the same old thing, right? Those are learning events, or excuse me, those are training events. They're not learning experiences. So find something that you can come away with steps 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 that you know you can implement and keep strong with over the next year ahead of you. Anyway, that's my answer.
Thank you. How about you, Chad? Do you do any conferences? Do you have a coach?
Yeah. So when I started, it was, I just go on YouTube and look up, expired videos, this or that, goal setting strategies. I really just use YouTube to learn a lot of what I've done, including renovating some of my personal houses. Yeah. And so I've really used YouTube. And it was actually prior to EXP where I was really learning. And studying agents. Now that's something I've still continued to do. YouTube has kind of fallen off now for me, and I'll touch on what I'm doing now. But I say study agents that you find to be successful, and then find ones that you like their style, or you like. It works with what you're doing. Know your competition, and mirror what works. What they're doing that would work for you, and kind of pull off of them, because obviously there's a successful platform. So now that was kind of in the beginning. Now that I'm at EXP, to be honest, I pretty much just utilize everything EXP has. Conferences, I do the EXP conferences. I haven't really gotten much value of some. I've done Zillow, and I was at Remax previously. I did do theirs. I didn't get a ton of value out of any of them, and I do find they'd be a waste of time for me primarily. Now the EXP ones I've learned so much from, because there's so much willingness to collaborate, where I don't see that in most other cultures I've been around. So for me, that's been huge. There's basically a conference going on every week in here. This is a conference type feeling, and that's the power of the digital space, is that we can have all these people in here from different states, and in some cases countries, and have this type of an event with a panel like we are right now. So I think that kind of eliminates the need for that, but they are still good to go to on occasion. Just watch how much time they take up, and make sure you're pulling an actual learning experience from it. I forget who had said that, but I completely agree with that. When you go to a conference, if you are going to try to pull 1, 2, 3 things that you can bring back and implement in your business to increase everything. So I also do a ICON training group in Workplace. I'll put the link in here when I'm done, but it's called Working Leads. So it's pretty much just whether it's scripts or conversational tonality, how we're generating them, anything that's involved with working leads, we pretty much talk about. So the collaboration from there has been huge, and it circle all back. I think when you talk with other agents, you can just get little details on even their structure, or the one-liners that they use with clients, or whatever it is that really you can interpret into your business. So that's pretty much what I'm doing.
Thank you. I had to laugh because I heard you say YouTube, and I immediately thought, how about them apples? And the whole scene in Good Will Hunting, where he was like, you got your education at Harvard and I got mine for $1.50 at the public library. I think the point is, if you, and this is what I'm taking for all of you. Some of you have coaches and some of you don't, and you can find education anywhere. So no matter what your level, your income level, if you can't afford it right now, great. Go to YouTube, figure out how to DIY it. I know for me, when I started blogging many years ago, which is what brought me business in the beginning, that DIY was the way I had to do it. And then when I could afford more, I did more. So I love that you all share that. We only have about 3 minutes. So if anybody has a question, please put it in there. I have one more question for each of you. It's got to be maybe a quick 30-second answer, but what did y'all do prior to real estate? Let's go with Michael. What did you do before you were in real estate?
Oh gosh, I've got 4 kids. How's that? Anyway, I worked for Hallmark Cards for 15 years prior to real estate, so I gained a lot of excellent background, a lot of good cultural stuff, the importance of environment within. We've used all that to kind of parlay that same sentiment into our services for our clients, and hopefully share that with our fantastic revenue share team.
That's awesome. What about you, Jeff? What did you do before real estate?
I spent 3 short/long years in the United States Army, and then when I came home after the Army, I worked in the technology field industry. Actually worked for companies that built circuit boards, placed the components. So technology was kind of a passion, which helped feed the side, but manipulating technology to make us more efficient and more productive is certainly what I felt would be a strong suit coming into real estate.
Well, it makes sense of the things you said earlier. Now it all makes sense to me why you have an affinity towards, some of the Facebook stuff and things that you're doing. What about you, Chad? What did you do before real estate?
Yeah, so basically, I always wanted to open up a business. Didn't really know what, and I had a band, which at the time that is like running a business. It's just you make no money. So I pretty much did that while job hopping. I delivered pizzas. I worked at a call center, and then I worked at my dad owns a used car lot, so I worked with him for a little bit until I decided, hey, real estate is a business you can get into with pretty minimal investment, and it is running a business. So that's what I decided to do, and it went from there.
I think that's awesome. I did medical sales before this, and before that, I was very similar. I was not, couldn't find my place. I think what we're finding here, guys, is, you can find success no matter what your background was. You got to just get out there and take yours. Michael, Chad, Jeff, I'm going to wrap up here. I have one request. If you will type in the chat box where people can reach you, whether it be a social channel, an email, a phone number, whatever it is. So if anybody has any follow-up questions to this, or if you have some referrals for Michael in Kansas, or Chad in Pennsylvania, or Jeff in Michigan, or myself in Richmond, please feel free to reach out. And I hope you all have a wonderful day. We're going to go ahead and put this in the chat box real quick, and have a good one, guys.
Have a great weekend. Thanks.
Thanks, Shannon. This is great.
Thank you.